It was hard for me to give up my old blame list. It was so comfortable blaming the government and blaming my negative relatives and the company policy, unions, wage scale, economy, interest rates, prices and circumstances and all that. That was difficult for me to give up. That was quite a transition for me to make, and blaming myself. But Mr. Shoaff started out with something very, very important. Let me give that to you. He said, it's not what happens that determines the major part of your future. It's not what happens. What happens, happens to us all. He said the key is what you do about it. It's not what happens, it's what you do about it. And he said if you will start that process of change, do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different, like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. If you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances, since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. And he says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. And he said, it'll all change for you.
You do not have to complicate this thing. You don't need an education to do this. You just need the principles of success. I'm telling you, man, I took these $25 jokes and I turned them into a lifestyle. You can take this God-given gift that he gave you and stop thinking of how to make $1 million. Just go make $10 and do everything 10 times as hard. Now, it's gonna be hard. Understand that. It's gonna be very hard. But you ain't got nothing else to do. Because let me tell you something about being not successful. Being not successful, that's really hard too. So you might as well apply yourself to something that has a benefit. I'm telling you, that's how you make $1 million. Quit tripping. You have the way. God has already given it to you to make $10. All you got to do is do it in multiples. You have it in you. You just got to apply. And you got to believe that it can happen for you.
Lasting greatness is not found in the roar of a crowd or the flash of the spotlight. No, it is found in the quiet, relentless grind of those who choose to work hard in silence. You see, the greats throughout history, the true titans of industry, the innovators and the pioneers, they didn't seek the spotlight. They didn't need the validation of others to propel them forward. They were driven by an inner fire, a relentless passion to master their craft, to push the boundaries of what was possible. And they did it all while staying out of the limelight, content to let their work speak for itself. Think about the great inventors. The Edisons, the Teslas, the Wrights, they toiled for years, experimenting and iterating, facing setback after setback, all the while quietly honing their skills and perfecting their creations. Because when you work hard in silence, when you let your actions and your results do the talking, you build a foundation of true, lasting success that no amount of flash or fanfare can ever replicate. You develop a depth of knowledge, mastery of your craft, that sets you apart from the rest. And when the time comes to step into the spotlight, when the world finally takes notice of your accomplishments, it's not because you've been craving the attention, but because you've simply been too busy creating something truly remarkable. And my friends, that is the true power of working hard in silence. It's not about seeking validation or attention. It's about tapping into a wellspring of your own potential, about relentlessly pursuing excellence for its own sake. It's about finding joy and fulfillment in the process, in the daily grind, in the quiet moments of progress and growth. Because let me tell you, the true rewards of working hard in silence, they far surpass anything that the world can offer. It's when you've put in the hard yards, when you've honed your craft to a razor's edge, there's a sense of pride and satisfaction that comes from knowing that you've truly earned your success.
A lot of my confidence comes from the fact that I deserve to win, and I deserve to win because I'm working my tail off, and I don't think enough people give themselves the gift of just super hard work. This is just something I'm saying if I don't validate it with an action. It's like you said with your books, like, I love you. No, that's a verb. There's an action that's taken to validate that I love you. There's things I can do to give evidence of the fact that I love you. And so, no, you can't just sit around and think about these things. You've got to get to work. You've got to implement them. Listen, the reason I can speak with such clarity on this stuff is I've done them. I've been in situations where this stuff has been tested and tried and true. So I'm a huge, huge advocate of work, of taking the steps necessary to do it.
Hard work actually works, and with virtually everything. It might not make you the best at whatever it is you're pursuing, but it will certainly make you better than you are. Work as hard as you possibly can on one thing and see what happens. And that's also predicated on this idea that discipline is a precondition to freedom. So you were fortunate, like you had this goal, right? So that meant you had a goal, which is a really big deal because you could learn about goals. You had a sense of a higher mode of moral being, that I would rather be a good SEAL than the person I am now. Well, it's a code of behavior and a way of perceiving. So there's an ethic in that. And then you said as well, you know, your conception of what good SEAL meant changed as you matured. But that's also fine. It wouldn't have changed unless you would have pursued that initial, only partially accurate goal. And so that's also a really good thing for people to understand is like, if you don't know what you're doing, aim at something. Is it the right thing? No, but it's better than just shooting randomly. So you aim at something, and then as you aim and you move towards it, you're going to find out why you're wrong. And then you might recalibrate your aim. And that's going to happen over and over because as you move towards a goal, it recedes or it broadens or it recedes and broadens. And otherwise you'd run out of things to do.
And you must operate like your back is against the wall, the immigrant mentality. And the way you do that is by having that no choice, to feel like you have no choice but to have this high level of work ethic, right? And then to feel like you're running late. So many of you give yourself too much credit. You let yourself off the hook by saying, I still have time. I need to have some balance. I can figure it out over time. I don't need to be in a rush. No, be in a rush. Set more pressure on yourself.
I've watched a lot of people climb to a point, and when they get to that point, they didn't create new structures around them to support the next level. Every level you climb requires a different type of energy and structure. And so some things, even that I'm doing right now, I know maybe 4 or 5 years from now, I'm gonna have to reevaluate those that'll change with the conditions of my life. For me, right now, as busy as I am, it requires more intent to structure than ever in my life. And if I didn't create them when things weren't quite this busy, I don't think I would have continued to float into the next state. And I've watched a lot of people get to a place and then they can't navigate that next level because of the structure, maybe the lack of a team around them, quality people, management of those things. And so I'm always trying to be ahead structurally to my results. What most people think is, I'm gonna produce this thing and then when I get there, I'll figure it out from there. That stagnates your growth. You've gotta be preparing and expecting that growth and creating the structures around you to facilitate it so it continues to flow.
I don't want you to ever compromise any of that stuff because you failed to work like an immigrant. You must adopt that immigrant mindset of working like you have no choice, feeling like you're late and behind schedule, and then being resourceful in the absence of resources, like figuring it out, FIO. And if you are willing to figure it out and do those things, then abandon comfort and convenience. Like, do the hardest things, always, always. Even in your office, you're like, I'm gonna take the elevator to go down. No, take the staircase, take the staircase. Like, if you do that, you start creating a pattern of badassery.
Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune.
And so I ask you today, my friends, which path will you choose? Will you be one of the many seeking the spotlight, craving the attention of the world? Or will you be one of the few, the truly great, who choose to work hard in silence, who let their actions and their results do the talking?